Hey guys, want to share a little something with you. Just vexed. Been letting this probably get to my mind too much, but I just can't believe this concept that people think that they can claim sobriety when they're still abusing substances like marijuana or alcohol or or anything else. Mostly marijuana, but wow. Something I never even, it's really been unheard of from me until recently. And I've been Googling it a lot lately and seeing that there is a lot of controversy over it and stuff. And it really vexes me that living in Illinois, that marijuana is going to be legal here in a couple of months. There's going to be dispensaries and all that. Oh, it really just drives me crazy. But I mean, sobriety is, abstaining from all, uh, mind-altering substances. And, to be sober is to not be drunk. It's to not be high. It's kind of obvious. I think it's like the definition's what it's always been. Sobriety and recovery for a person who's a drug addict or an alcoholic is to abstain from, any mind-altering substance. Like, it's not like if somebody's an alcoholic and alcohol was just their main drug and then, they switch over to marijuana. I've always been told that that's called cross-addiction or it's called substitution. And it's just, replacing one drug with another. And all these drugs have negative effects. And the world's just so backwards today with marijuana. It's just saying it's not addictive. There's no negative effects. And it even vexes me and it drives me crazy that people say it's not a drug. The stupidity, the ignorance in this world today is just astounding. With, a person who is born with male genitalia can be a woman. Or, up is down, down is up. There can't be any solid definitions for anything because, everything changes and it's just whatever you feel it is. Sobriety is whatever I feel it is. And so there is I'm trying to think of what it's called. I don't know. I've just been looking it up, but there's a term for people who are like addicts to harder drugs like meth or cocaine, and then they use marijuana, and it's kind of like a step down to where marijuana is addictive and is very negative. As I said, a lot of destruction can come with that in various ways, but not to the same degree as meth and coke. I'd agree with that, but it's still not a solution, long term. It's, I guess, marijuana maintenance is what it's called. So, that's being used in recovery. And there is, I guess that people who have been addicted to meth and stuff like that, or heroin or whatever, they can get put on prescription medications by doctors or their therapists or whatever, and methadone, stuff like that, Suboxone or whatever. And I can see some kind of use for that, but I don't think that stuff's ever meant to be long term. It's kind of like to wean people off of it, who have struggled with it, who are trying to quit with, and they have their withdrawals or whatever, because some of the harder drugs have a lot more harder withdrawals, even though, weed and alcohol to a certain extent can have withdrawals for people who are addicted to those. But, and so many people are addicts in denial. Lots of people who drink and smoke are addicts, and they'll never admit it because they might not have these severe effects in their life, these from using the substances. Some of the subtle ones are just as bad, if not worse sometimes, than something major, because when something major happens, it's more of a wake-up call. When I have a DUI and get in a crash, it's like, wow, I could have killed somebody, I could have, killed myself. But then, there may be somebody who just drinks daily, they don't drink and drive, but, they're killing their body and their relationships are being destroyed because, abusing any of these substances like that, it doesn't allow you to better yourself really emotionally or mentally, to really to heal, to learn to be a better person, because people abuse them to escape pain, and not just physical pain but just emotional pain, and not being in stress and not being able to deal with life. Instead of really learning how to cope with stuff like that, they're just using the drugs to cope, and they're just creating more problems on top of problems. But just for somebody to say that, yeah, I've been sober for 5 years, but that whole 5 years they've been, a raging pothead, it's like, okay, you're not sober. I'm sorry. You're a weed addict. You're a marijuana addict, and it just blows my mind. This world is insane, and it's very scary that people put this stuff out there. And there's a lot of it on YouTube too. Just look at what is sobriety, and they'll say, well, we can't really force a definition on it. There's different ways that people look at it. And no, there's only one way to look at sobriety. I'm sorry. I guess that I'm black and white in a lot of ways. Thinking that... And another thing that I haven't mentioned is, people will say, well, people who say that they're sober and, they're all against marijuana, like I'm saying, but, you still use caffeine and you still use sugar and stuff like that. And that is just the stupidest thing. To compare caffeine, to compare drinking a cup of coffee to smoking a joint is completely, or even just smoking a one hit, is completely not even related at all. Okay. Yeah, it's caffeine's a stimulant. Even cigarettes. I think cigarettes are very bad for your health, very bad for you in a lot of ways, and I would not suggest that to anybody. But I would accept smoking cigarettes as being sober. I don't think that people should smoke, but you can still work on your emotional growth and stuff, I believe, as you're smoking cigarettes, if that's what people do. But I would always, suggest that people should quit that too. I don't think, you're not high when you're smoking cigarettes. You're not high when you're drinking a cup of coffee or whatever else when you're eating a piece of chocolate. Okay, yeah, they might slightly lift your mood or, stimulate you a little bit. It's not comparable to marijuana or to being drunk or whatever at all. Marijuana is basically a hallucinogen. It changes the way that you think, like majorly. And it's like a lot of people that are proponents of this kind of crazy thinking are the people that are smoking it themselves. So, it's just, this world's gone bonkers. I don't even know what to think anymore. I just thank God that I'm sober, and I know, what sober means. And I don't even smoke cigarettes, thank God. And there's a lot of areas in my life that I could improve, for sure. And the fact that I am sober greatly, raises the chances for me making those improvements, because, I can see more easily the flaws that I have and learn to deal with them. But, man, unbelievable. God bless, guys.